Okay, I'm just waiting a few more minutes to see if anyone else is going to enter the room. You can start to let in participants as soon as they are in the room. Hi, welcome to those who've joined so far. We're just going to give maybe one more minute for people to enter. We're just waiting for a few more participants. And there's my cat. Yeah, in the background. My cat's going to vomit. Hi, Moxie. And she just wants her 15 minutes of fame. She's never usually around, I promise.
That was a cute cat.
I know, right? She's never, it's probably because it's raining. And if anyone can hear, there's a huge storm in Barbados at the moment. So it's probably one of my cats in here. Okay, well, I'm going to make the start with everybody who's here because I know I sent out the reminder for this meetup yesterday, and I did send another reminder in the Slack and the WhatsApp channels, but I'm not sure how many people are going to join. But this is actually a nice group because then it's smaller, and I hope that I can hear more from some of you who are here, because often in the meetups I don't get to hear from everyone. And also, it might be, the meetups might be scheduled at a time that's not convenient to everyone. So I'll officially bid you welcome. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. It's morning here in Barbados, pouring with rain. I'm Stacey, as you know, your ambassador coordinator. And the meetup today, I'm keeping it quite casual, and I really want to see if, I want to encourage anyone to participate and, make your voice heard as much as possible. The main focus of the meetup today is going to be just some key takeaways from the Virtual Island Summit that just concluded. I wanted to get an idea of how you all felt about the summit, if there were any favorite moments that you have, any actions you want to take moving forward. I wanted to share some insights from those who held local events to encourage any of you to also do that in the future. If you're going to, be an island ambassador again, I hope you all sign up again for next year and then begin to plan a local event next year as well. I'm here to help you with that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about COP27, because that's the next big event coming up. Island Innovation will have an island pavilion at COP27. This is a virtual space where we can bring concerns of island nations to the forefront at COP. So to get us started, to kick us off, I want to chat a little bit about the Virtual Island Summit. I want to encourage you all to use the chat function or unmute or put your hand up. You don't have to turn your cameras on if you don't want to, but I just want to get an idea, just to break the ice. If anyone has any key takeaways from the Virtual Island Summit, anything, any insights you want to share, any impressions you have, because I know I've not interacted with everyone that much at all after the summit. So I'll give you all a couple of minutes to either put your hand up and unmute or use the chat function. And Jerome has very kindly put in the chat. You can find all of the recordings on our website, and the link is there in the chat. And I had a really good discussion with one of our ambassadors last week during my office hours. This was Deborah. She is based in Martinique. Okay, does anyone want to say anything, unmute or type in the chat? Please feel free. Once I see you unmute, I'll call on you. Okay, if you're not going to unmute, well, then let me just say briefly, Deborah mentioned that one of the things you can do in looking at the Virtual Island Summit, when you're looking at the sessions, take your time, look at the recordings, make any notes you want to make, and then you can always ask some questions to us, or if you have any queries to post to the panelists, you can respond. To those of us who just joined, hi Gunter, hi Leroy. I was just saying that this session today, we're focusing on any key takeaways from the Virtual Island Summit. If you did have a local event and haven't gotten to tell me a bit more about it, we can chat about it as well. And then we're also going to be chatting a little bit about Island Innovation COP27 Island Pavilion. And I had invited anyone who might have anything to say about their key takeaways from the Virtual Island Summit or any impressions they have to just unmute or type in the chat. You can raise your hand or use the raise hand function. Or if you just unmute, I'll see you unmute and I will call on you. So I'll just give people a couple of minutes to just either type in the chat or respond. This is a nice small group, so I hope there'll be some participation from everybody. Hi, Kiki, how are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Stacy. How's it going?
Great, good to be here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank you so much for your support for my local event. It was kind of a bit rushed, but it was excellent, I thought, but I'll speak to that later. Hello to everybody that's joined us as well. So what I really liked about the Island Innovation is that you guys attached the recordings after, which was really good. And quite a few people were querying about that, which took a lot of the chat space as well. So that was really good. I mistook some of the, because there was a lot happening. I mistook some of the, misinterpret some of the timings. So for example, circular economy, I missed out on that one. But also the eco side was really good. I really liked the speakers that you guys had there. There were a lot of credible speakers throughout, even our leader who spoke on the first day as well. That was excellent. And then sometimes you do get a bit of information overload. It'll be nice to see like the trajectory there. Like, do people find that there's too much information in some, but yeah. But Ecoside for me was really great. And I think it was good because it led on to the COP27 and some people's activities. So networking there and connecting others to see where they can collaborate in the future was very good. But aside from that, I really like the, what do you call it? Being able to download all the recordings after. My local event, I really, really enjoyed it.
That's
but it was, yeah, it was a bit stressful too, but I got some really good speakers and thankfully I attended the conference before. But the great thing about that, because I held a local event online and it was recorded, so I can actually use it later for when we have other meetings, which is really good. And one of the speakers couldn't make it. She got the timing wrong as well, but she apologized and she's made herself available too. But we got new information. That's the thing as well. So when I spoke to the IOC, who was one of our local speakers, it was mobilizing ocean science for large ocean states. And another thing is there's different ocean observation, modeling, monitoring, as opposed to science, biology, and ecosystems. There's different sciences there. But what it opened doors to was the speakers providing their resources, like contact me and giving the new information, like new opportunities and things like that. So thanks for that.
Oh, thank you so much for that input, Fiefa. That's feel great to hear. So for me, what's really jumping out at me, I can see the benefit of making the effort to hold a local event, even if it is something that seems rushed or it is something that, you know, you decide to do completely spontaneously and bravely. You can see that you can reap a lot of benefits from doing that. Because definitely, as you can say, speakers, you will make connections with experts in the field and people who are willing to lend their time, not just their knowledge, but their time. And then they're also willing to go that step further and lend and help you have access to resources. So that's absolutely crucial. That's really important that you see not just what's happening, but also you see what's happening in terms of after your local event. So I really am glad that you raised that as a point. It's really important to, you know, and your local event, you looked at ocean science and the different types of ocean science. And I think that's something that we all have to know. The importance, for example, right now of citizen science, which is another type of science that we can kind of overlook the importance of. I also love that you mentioned you got new information from your local event, because there's a way that a local event will focus your attention. And that's something that, as you said, the information overload presented at the Virtual Island Summit, it can just seem like it's so much coming at you. There's so much you need to navigate. So if you have your own local event, it can focus your attention. And then based on that local event, you can pick and choose the sessions. And that's something, that's a good strategy to remember moving forward. You can pick and choose your stream of interest, whether it be the blue economy, whether it be conservation, whether it be circular economy. focus on those and always go back to the recordings. So right now, I just want to read something. As I said, I'm inviting anyone to speak. You can use the raise hand function. I can see if you'd like to, if there's anyone you'd like to speak, if you want to make a contribution. But for now, what I will do is just read through some of the things that I'm seeing in the chat. So I want to share with you. So hi, Pauline. Pauline is saying that you didn't attend many of the sessions, and it's great that you're working your way through the recordings. And that's fantastic. So take your time and go through the recordings. We are always here. If you have any questions or comments based on those recordings, as I said at the beginning of the session, we can reach out to the speakers, after the event. Get in touch with me, Stacy@islandinnovation.co. If you have a, particular question or query or comment, and I'd be happy to follow up on that for you. Ramiro, thank you. You're saying that everything is enlightening and you're learning a lot. So I think this is what I want us to emphasize as well. When we come together for our meetups, we're sharing, our impressions, we're sharing our thoughts. I could see that, the example Thea mentioned about her local event. And this is to give you all insights into ways that you can move forward. And Pauline, you really want to organize something locally? That's awesome. So keep in touch with me even from now, because I'm going to be around next year for sure. So keep in touch with me, Pauline. You can start to think about your local event next year from now. Okay, and that will keep your momentum going. I think a lot of people have said you benefit a lot from connecting with people. That's great. And I like the comment, yes, throw yourself in the deep end and you will learn to swim, but not just you'll learn to swim. There are other people around who are going to support you whenever you have a local event. So fantastic. Good to see everyone tuning in from Timor-Leste. It's good because I don't get to see some of you all very often. And yes, the networking, I even had a cool networking experience at the Virtual Island Summit. So that's another key takeaway. So another of the key takeaways I'm seeing is take advantage of the networking sessions in a way that's meaningful. It's very tempting sometimes to just get a whole bunch of people's contact information, but tune into those that resonate most with you. And I had that experience with someone at the networking session. She's interested in marine conservation and she was actually traveling to Barbados and I managed to meet up with her last week. So this is something that if you can create an in-person meeting, now it's safer to do so. We met at a restaurant and we chatted a lot and I can see that she has a lot of, she's a very like-minded individual, in terms of island innovation, in terms of also what I want to achieve personally and raising awareness to do with marine conservation in Barbados. So that's important, definitely networking. Anyone else would like to contribute, please? This is the time. As I said, this is a nice informal session today, this meetup. I have not done a presentation on purpose because I want to hear from you. And I will be creating notes based on the session to post on the website. I see a lot of people. I don't want to volunteer anyone, but it's tempting because I know some of you. So please feel free to say a few words about your key takeaway from the Virtual Island Summit or anything you enjoy the most. So far, we've heard people like networking and they particularly enjoyed the session on ecocide. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to, if you want to unmute, feel free and I will call on you. Hi, Leroy.
Yeah, aloha, Stacy. How's it going? Yeah, again, I managed to watch quite a few of the sessions there, but as you can see right now in Hawaii, it's still after midnight. So the timing was a little bit challenging, but very interesting and stuff as it is. Right now, I have an event going on next week. Yeah, we're actually doing our Stars of Oceania, which basically recognizes the entrepreneurs that's out in the various Pacific Islands, leadership in women, leadership in other groups, bringing them around in different kind of, honorees. And we have a list of honorees from previous ones that are now like the Prime Minister of Samoa, the former President of Palau. So a lot of them attend this event. So we've been doing this for quite a bit. And we actually branched off with our Breadfruit Conference, which actually looks at a staple, food that the item.
Yeah, we have that here. I love it.
Yeah, they here too. Yeah, so our Ulu conference also goes on. So October 17th is our Stars of Oceania, and we followed it up with the 18th with our Breadfruit Conference. So we have our Pacific Island Farmers Organization. They have about 70,000 farmers throughout the Pacific Islands and stuff that are engaged there. And so I personally work with our thermal conversion for municipal waste, basically processing waste to energy, to green waste and stuff, and providing activated carbon and stuff back into the ground. So we've been proven to get 200 to 300% growth of the agriculture that's been happening there. We've been able to process and get rid of all plastics and tires and all kind of stuff on these islands and all those types of things to kind of clean things up. Right now, we got several proposals to try to put our system on a ship so it can go out there. Everyone talks about going to the gyre and clean up all the plastics and bringing it back. But the thing is, all the carbon footprint that's in waste that's done, you know, traveling to the place and then bringing those plastic back, so bringing that is great. However, you know, it's still a lot of waste and contributes to the environment. We have our containerized solution that sits on the ship, process stuff, provides diesel fuel right there to the ship, and then you just dump the carbon back in the ocean to heal the ocean. I mean, so there's no kind of reuse of things there. But I just wanted to kind of just to throw that out there. We're doing our little part here in Hawaii. We connect with most of the island territories and countries around, plus using the infrastructure of our university system to kind of come about and bring technology to these, remote island locations and the like.
That is fantastic. Yes. And you see a comment, Leroy, that is brilliant, all that you've said. And you can see someone would like you to post a link for all of your local events, because it sounds absolutely terrific, everything you've said. I made notes about the fact that you have the your Stars in Oceania conference, which sounds like something that would be of interest to many of our ambassadors and many people in our community here at Island Innovation. I'm having a breadfruit conference alone. I wish I could get on a plane and fly.
Oh, you did?
I love breadfruit.
Yeah, we have Chef Todd from the Caribbean. They've been coming over quite a bit, and they actually produce the Mutiny vodka, which is made out of breadfruit.
Yes.
So
breadfruit
vodka been made there. So we all kind of collaborate, come together. He sent us like 6 cases of vodka to pass around to those that don't know what's going on. We have various chefs that had, pasta and breads and cookies and candies and ice cream, everything made out of ulu or breadfruit.
Yeah, exactly. And that shows, so everything you've said, Leroy, is so relevant in terms of our food security and kind of honoring our indigenous food as island territories. Mm-hmm. Because often, I know in Barbados, we focus so much on importing food. We tend to overlook the nutritional value and the wonderful kind of range of products and foods that we can get from a staple like breadfruit. So, that conference alone would really be a learning experience for everyone. I know that if I could attend in person, I would. Also, just your Stars in Oceania conference. I think that's something that I said would be of great interest. But then you also mentioned waste management, another crucial issue on islands, where we have to look at how can we manage our waste, how can we look at processing plastic or making sure that we minimize the negative effects of plastic. That's something that's huge. And I've also noted your mention of the timing being difficult because of where you are. So I really want to see if I can work on that next year and see how can we, because we do try to time the sessions across a range of time zones, but I know that a lot of the time, the Pacific region and Oceania, we don't get to connect as much as we should with you all. So that's, I appreciate you being here because I know the time is.
Oh, no, for me, it's a pleasure. I do a lot of global health, so a lot of work. So I'm in Africa and a lot of places. So timing is never an issue. Where there's an underserved population needing support, I'm there. So I really appreciate being an ambassador and also being a member of the organization. It's been very rewarding to kind of see a lot of that stuff that's going on. I really look forward to us actually being able to promote some of the stuff that we're doing. That's actually that I learned from the different sessions there of some of the challenges. We are a technology incubation center, so we look at supporting these island nations out here. So we come up with solutions that are island specific, that's for the people, and how to look at how they can be self-sustaining. So stuff you can deploy there, easy to use. And basically just, they can just manage it and run it without any long financial logistics tales on what's going on there, using the natural resources because, it's really, really important there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. The idea of nature-based solutions. And also, this is part of my role as the Island Ambassador Coordinator. I want to, as far as I can, help to raise awareness about any issues or any causes or projects that you all as ambassadors have. That's one of the reasons I have the office hours. But now, Leroy, because I've not spoken to you before, and this is the first time I'm hearing of your project. So when I do put together even the ambassador update I send out every week. These are the kind of things I'd highlight, and I'll add some more information in there. So if you can send me some of the links, I'd be happy to include it in the or update. So
No,
thanks.
yeah, absolutely. Again, apologize to everyone for taking up so much time.
No, please don't apologize. It's great to hear you and see you. Hi, Gunter. I see you've taken your camera on and you said, how are you? Welcome to the session. It's good to see and hear from you.
Okay, thank you for the reception. I just wanted to contribute a little bit. I couldn't, as many others, not join all the events of the summit, which is very challenging. But the good story about it is having joined the, let's say, the ecological tourism session, I made contact with a person you may remember, who is Diana Körner. And the good thing about is that we made contact and we are discussing now a concept which is called Living Lab. Living Lab is a, let's say, a scheme which had been invented by the European Commission research funding program. And the interesting thing about it is that it's not just academic research by academic institutions, rather than, and that somehow interfaces to what you said about citizen science, that real people from the real environment are involved in that kind of research. The Living Lab concept is exactly to be devoted, for example, to have elderly people's home or elderly people who are needing some care. And when you have a project on being devoted to this subject, the elderly people are part of the Living Lab exercise. Now, this we will apply to the ecological tourism, and I make this point because I would like to invite any other colleague, ambassador, potentially to join, because our idea would be to create a kind of a network of those who are interested in the subject, and we likely will try to find out if we get some funding, for example, from the European Commission, who is very much interested to have some ideas for this, what they call outermost regions, which mainly are islands somehow associated with European countries.
Thank you so much for that, Gunter. That's really insightful. And I'm glad that you're taking this opportunity, and I encourage everyone to do so. Again, you have a project. This is also a form of networking, but we as ambassadors know that, at heart, we definitely have some causes and some issues that we want to draw attention to. So Gunter, we would really encourage you, can you post some information in the chat if there's a website for the Living Lab project or any information?
Not yet, but as soon as we are closer to, let's say, to get the idea formulated and formed, I think Diana and I will certainly be willing to inform the larger community. Not for the moment, but we will do so.
Can people get in touch with you then, or someone?
Sure. That's the reason why I'm
great. So put your information in the chat, then even if it's not a website, somewhere that people can get hold
I'll
of
leave my email in the chat. Okay.
That would be wonderful. That'd be wonderful, because we see as well, again, the mention of citizen science, and also the mention of making sure that all segments of a population are included. The fact that Living Lab also is going to highlight the needs or the elderly people being part of Living Lab. I think it's very important for us to have some intergenerational communication and learn from each other intergenerationally. So we really appreciate that, Gunter. Thanks so much. It's good to see you. It's good to see people I don't see very often during the meetups. So thank you. I see lots of other people here, so it'd be great to hear. Vittorio, I see you there. Hello. I'm just calling out those people that I'm in touch with outside of, of the meetups. Ramiro, it was great. We already heard from Leroy. Pauline, anyone please be sure to put things in the chat. We saw Leroy has put in the chat the website for the HIP methods, which has to do with the waste management that he mentioned, and there's lots more information in the chat. So if anyone wants to post any, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Would anyone else like to say something? There's plenty of time in the session, but I just want to encourage all of you now to mention if there's any key takeaways you have from the Virtual Island Summit. I've also made a note from Gunter that yes, it is difficult to see all of the sessions when they're all happening. So again, you can see the recordings there. We place the link in the chat for the recordings. Please feel free, take your time, look at them, and then you can reach out with any questions or comments you might have based on the sessions. Anyone else want to say anything? You can go ahead and unmute. You can keep your camera off if that's easier for you in terms of bandwidth or just comfort levels. And I'll give you a couple of minutes. Let me know. Hi, Jen, I see someone unmuted. Hello. Oh, you're muted again, so you didn't want to say anything.
Can I say something?
Hi, yes, you may go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So as a island innovation ambassadors, I was into some island from Japan, and concerning about how can we improvement for the marine litters and try to clean up to any of the microplastics for the oceans. And this time, I think that maybe we need to find some cross collaboration with the companies or civil society movement, because more than many of the information we could not get in the, still we could not get to the about to the, some ocean litters and marine litters to deal with it, and where they go and where to go and where comes from. So maybe it's better to get some more information to handle with this information. So these Island Innovation Summit is quite useful for me to know about what are they doing and what the contributions and how can they address into these kinds of ocean issues and biodiversity issues as well. So I also keep into the working for these kinds of areas in some similar organizations and the same organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much for your contribution. So Jin makes an excellent point regarding using the sessions as a source of information. If you have found it difficult to find information, Jin made particular mention of microplastics and cleaning up oceans. So the huge issue of microplastic is, you know, microplastics, as we know, are a problem. Microplastics is kind of the definition of that is when plastics break down to such an extent that they're microscopically present in an ecosystem. And when they're eaten, they go all the way up the food chain. So, you know, microorganisms eat bits of plastic, fish eat the microorganisms, bigger fish eat the smaller fish, we eat the bigger fish. So we then end up consuming plastic. And all of this happens from plastic being in the ocean. So when there are plastics in the ocean, it's a matter of the wave energy, the levels of chemicals or salts in the ocean, and also the action of direct sunlight cause plastics to break down sometimes at a rate faster than they would if they were on land. So that's why we have to really, one of the important things about ocean cleanups, it's important to clean up oceans. If any of you have done any beach cleanups, which I have done many of them, it's amazing to see the amount of plastic that you can clean up. And as you are picking it up and cleaning it up, it just disintegrates in your hands. And you know that this is something that's going to be in the sand. As the waves comes in, it takes it in and out. So, you know, that's something we really have to be aware of, stopping plastics from getting in the ocean in the first place. So I'm really glad that Jen made that point about how we can use the Virtual Island Summit sessions as finding some specific information on the things that you might be interested in. And I see Leroy has put the link to the Breadfruit Summit, the Breadfruit Conference in the chat. So please, Fia mentioned, okay, there was a lack of, you mentioned that there might have been a lack of marine invasive species coverage. We actually did have a session on invasive species, and it did focus primarily, it actually did focus a lot on land-based invasive species, but yeah, we could have to look at, terrestrial invasive species. I'll try to, actually, I'll make a note, Fia, I'll send you that link for that particular session, because we had a very, very useful and very interesting session on invasive species. So I'll make a note to send you that link.
Yeah, I agree. I joined that session also. It was actually nice. Although in our field, we look at the invasive species as far as the forests and those ones that's kind of taking over land and those things, making it not too great to farming and stuff. So that's again another reason why we looked at providing a solution that can get rid of some of the unwanted green waste and like.
Yeah. So okay, I'll definitely, thanks for that, Leroy. Yeah, that was a good session. So I'll definitely send you the link for that, Fia. That was good. I remember a mention was made of the ways that invasive species can end up in some islands. Some of them come over on containers. We also had, I know recently in Barbados, a few years ago, we had an issue with lionfish, and that occurred when a hurricane destroyed a local aquarium in Bermuda, I believe, and some lionfish that were in the aquarium ended up in Barbadian waters. It was such an aggressive species that it was taking over a lot of our reefs, and we arranged things like, lionfish cooking competitions, ways to, recipe competitions, ways to deal with lionfish, which was very, very helpful, because the lionfish didn't have any kind of effective predator in our ecosystem. So it just really exploded as a predator, and it was having a harmful impact on our reef systems. Thanks for that. Anyone else would like to say? I know some people joined very recently. Please feel free. You can also just say hi in the chat and let me know where you're joining from. And soon I'm going to move over to chat a little bit about COP27 and what we can do here at Island Innovation and any of the island ambassadors to spread the message about COP27. So just moving along now, because we're about halfway through our time. COP27, Island Innovation is going to have a virtual space called the Island Pavilion at COP27, and we want to encourage all of you all to register. I'm not sure if as ambassadors you're automatically registered. I know for the Virtual Island Summit, all ambassadors were registered. Hi, someone's saying hello, Odette from the Dominican Republic. Great to have you here. So in terms of the COP27 island space, I'm going to actually share my screen so I can show you on our website the information to do with Island Pavilion at COP27. Now I'm doing this because I know a lot of the time it's very easy. We take for granted that the website is there, but sometimes it's important for us to actually go on there, navigate it, and kind of find our way through what's happening in the website. So I'm going to share my screen. Thanks very much, Jerome, or fantastic. My teammate and colleague has put the link to register in the chat. So please feel free to register. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see, share screen. I'm going to go here. I don't think I have too many tabs open for a change. Okay, so you all should be able to see my screen. You can put a thumbs up or let me know if you can see my screen, and you can see the information there to do with COP27. Okay, so here we have our Island Pavilion at COP27. So we have a countdown happening. COP27 is happening between the 6th and the 18th of November of this year. And we're trying to see how can we draw attention to messages from islanders to the world, or ideally to the leaders and those making decisions at COP27. Okay, so you can see that it's being held in Egypt this year. Last year it was held in Glasgow, and we have all the information there for you to register. We're going to use hashtags, and we're going to be trying to raise awareness about what's happening at COP27. So as it's mentioned here on the website, during COP27, we want to create an island space. So we want to create this virtual space where we can talk about insights and developments to do with our island communities, remote, rural island communities, because we want to ensure that your community is represented. Now, I know that has proven sometimes to be a challenge with some of the ambassadors. Some of the reasons I don't hear from a lot of you is that there is an issue with accessibility and there is an issue with connectivity. So sometimes I don't hear from you. Please feel free, everyone should know, and by now we'll have my WhatsApp. If it is easier to connect with us via WhatsApp, we will try our best to make sure that we monitor all channels so that we can, get a message across from you at this space. So as is mentioned here, given that 20% of UN member states are part of the Alliance of Small Island States, we want there are going to be a lot of conversations happening to do with islands. So what is COP27? So COP27, COP stands for Conference of the Parties. That is something that it may seem basic, but some people might not know. Conference of Parties. And obviously the Conference of the Parties have to do with the United Nations one of the climate bodies. And we're focusing on the fact that there has to be more active and more insightful and decisive measures to fight climate change. As we all know, we are at the forefront of climate change. The brunt of the effects of climate change happen to us in small islands. And generally, we are not the ones responsible for the impetus of that change. In terms of our emissions, in terms of the level of waste that we produce, in terms of, or general activities as human beings, we don't contribute as much to climate change as developed countries, but we do tend to bear the brunt of it. And again, whether you're a developed country or not, climate change is really something that is that's heightening, and we all have to take advantage of this opportunity to effectively tackle this challenge of climate change. So some of the goals and the visions of COP27, much like COP26, have to do with mitigation, adaptation, finance, and collaboration. So I'm going to pause a second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'll share the screen again because I just want to check the chat and see if anyone, and also if anyone has any comments or queries to do with COP27 or COP26, what would you like to see done differently? Please, this is a good chance for you to intervene and chat. I see someone's mentioned the organization UDYMA. UDYAMA is one of the observers, one of the network partners you're participating. Excellent. Pradeep, welcome to our meetup. Can you put in the chat what exactly does it stand for? Hello.
Thanks, Stacy. I missed several programs because of this. There are a network problem, and it's a big apology before this is our community. And you'll be happy to know that Udam is sending one of our network partners for participating in the COP27.
That's
And
fantastic.
yeah.
That's
And
great.
because Udam is one of the observers, even FCC since long, and it's better to take learning and leverage the resources. As Udam is sending one of the partners, and it's however that it's a hotel and other things that has not booked yet, and we look forward also. If anything, only hotel that would be that if somebody can help us in providing this the cost of hotel. That would be great because we are providing this travel cost. So if anything that if it's any one of your network partner or this even if Africa partners, they can accommodate it nearby. This is the venue. It would be great help.
Okay.
Stacy,
Thank
can
you.
it be possible? Can it be possible? If it is, then please tell me.
Okay. Thank you for raising that. Thank you so much for that contribution and intervention. So, okay, so great. So Pradeep is going to be there. So that's good to know that we have some ambassadors who physically might be at the event. And there are many events, there are side events, and there are actual events that are taking part of that are actually part of the conference. I wanted to ask now quickly if anyone could put in the chat, what impressions do you have generally of COP, the whole concept of the conference of the parties? Whether, last year, we remember what happened. We had a lot of, I know one of the major topics of discussion last year had to do with accessibility and the fact that there wasn't adequate representation from many island territories at COP26. Does anyone have any comments or anything they'd like to say?
Do you like to hear from me? Do you like to hear from me, or is anybody can?
Sure, you can go ahead and then please. But I do see Pradeep.
Yeah,
I see
there are greater expectation from COP27 because it's Maracas and it's even if it's last Glasgow that has created a framework, but it has not reached to the this apex level for this consensus building. Because COP26 that talks about that, I expect that it's several things how minimize this, if it's your carbon emission. This is one, and it's zero net or preventing land degradation, and even if you below what would the life on water and life on the land, and it's altogether SDG that can be aligned together UNFCCC. So that's the way we talk about what adaptation, mitigation, and other things. That is the whole crux of this is a discussion that will be aligned to the SDG because it's poverty, there is climate-induced disasters, then the nutrition, then there is ocean, then there is even if this is partnership, then there is network, then there is these 4 frameworks that has already been done. One is habitat framework, another is SDG framework, another is the Sendai framework, and it is the UNFCCC framework. How all framework can be aligned together with this UNFCCC, that would be the, I think I am expecting that would be the crux of the discussion. So this is not only that, it's again that is even if it's, although COVID-19 that has not yet is the framework anything not done, but it's a problem and pandemic that has not yet wiped out. How the health crisis and climate crisis put together to it's a healthy environment and it's a livelihood and sustainability, environmental sustainability. That would be the major discussion. Moreover, this is we have already crossed the thresholds: pollution and its biodiversity, and it's even if it's climate vulnerability. So how that can minimize the loss and damages? So this greater business, this is the COP 2027 is only to bring the business houses to be part of it. So that a major investment for this renewable energy, maybe solar, wind, and its waste and circular economy, and these are all the part of this investment. Unless and until there will be good resource mobilization, leveraging resources from this big house, big boss or big corporates, and I think it will be difficult to implement, because Maracas discussion, it was there that $3 trillion that would be so provided by these developed countries for developing and least developed countries. That has not yet it's implemented so far. So this Glasgow, that was also the resolution Glasgow or Marcus both. We can take this the last three, 208 last three, that would be very important for the common conference of parties. Business houses, how they can get involved and also bring for more investment for this mitigation as well as adaptation. And mitigation is policy level issues, and adaptation is only this is the how community can be get out of this is temperature rise, the forest fire, fossil fuel, and it's recurrent droughts, cyclones, super cyclones, hurricanes, and because these are all now this is considered as one of these climate induced disasters. So disaster may not be reduced, but it's how best loss and damages can be minimized it to support the community. That would be the I apprehend that would be the major thrust of this COP 27, and bringing the corporate house and business houses for this investment. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. So just some of the things, I'm going to try to summarize some of what you said, because I think it's very, very useful. So you made mention of the fact that, there's a link between health and the climate crisis. So this is something we have to take really seriously. But also one of the major things you're saying, I notice, is the idea of funding not being as easily accessible, and the need to bring in businesses, or the need to, I know in Barbados, we often seek to forge partnerships between the public sector and the private sector, because without the investment into things like loss and damage and into proper adaptive measures and how ways that we can best put mitigation in place, we're not going to stand a chance properly. So there has to be the accessibility to the funding, but also how do we make sure that we can navigate the eligibility to the funding? Because I wanted to also bring in there, because when you were speaking, I noticed some comments in the chat that I think were very, very relevant to do with the fact that there is a level of marginalization in terms of who can actually attend the conference of the parties, and that funds don't filter down to grassroots level. So, that we could see grassroots level literally and figuratively. There's civil societies, there are NGOs that really know what's happening on the ground. And if their voices can be heard and represented and melded with policymakers, then that's something that could happen that's also extremely meaningful. But again, in order to be eligible to attend and in order to be eligible for funding, there's lots of requirements that you have to meet. And this is something that it's possible, but it takes a level of training and a level of investigation that, as I said, it's possible and it's doable. We just have to be really committed to it. Before I go on, I'd like to
It's possible because this is partnership is important, and the network is also important. For that matter, there would be a good advocacy and campaign is also required.
Right. So
and 18th October, GCF is Green Climate Fund is also organizing the same kind of how to leverage this Green Climate Fund for this is, for the community adaptation. So anybody, they can go to the GCF site, and also all this, the way you told that is criteria, and also that can be possible to access the resources. It will be
Just
great help.
saying,
I am also one of the
just a
observer
second,
to
Pradeep.
GCF, and it's you can
Someone
you can
else
take
had
it
actually
forward.
wanted to say something, but I don't see them at the moment. It seems as if they've left the session, so I hope Vittoria will come back because I know he had unmuted and he had wanted to say something. Okay, so any more comments on COP27? Because I really would like a lot of you all to have a chance to speak. I know that Gunter has mentioned in the chat some publications, knowledge for the Anthropocene. So yes, so that's one thing that we can do when we look at SDGs and we look at what's happening at COP27. A good idea is always, of course, to, if you can educate yourself as far as possible and do some kind of readings. And this is one thing, another really good aspect of networking, the fact that we can share some resources that we can use. Okay, so I think that's really vital. Does anyone else want to say anything? We are coming up on time. And before I share my screen again so that we can just have a look at the website, is there anyone else like to say anything? I see we have some new people joining. Welcome. Hi, Remigio. Hello, how are you from Timor-Leste? Good to see you. Let me unmute. You need to unmute. I'll ask you to unmute. Because you're muted, so we can't hear you. We can't actually hear you, Remigio. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, we still can't hear you. So let me know. I know when you joined, we could hear, but right now we can't hear you. Is there any way that you can unmute yourself? Okay, while you're figuring that out, would anyone else like to make a comment or a query? Okay, if not, I'm gonna, Remigio, as I said, you're still muted. But I'm going to just, while you're seeing if you can unmute yourself, we have someone in the chat. Now you are represented as an acronym here, WOCPSCN, you're a nonprofit organization. And you said your mission is to present active approaches to community development and socioeconomic stability that are in alliance with the UN SDGs. So that's awesome that you're an ambassador, but could you please, if you want even to send me a message with your name, because I don't see your actual name here or where you're from. So I'm not gonna be able to get in touch with you as I would like to. So WOCPSCN, it would be great. Hello, I see you. Yay.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good to see you. What's your name, might I ask? I'm
I am
Stacey.
Loretta Green Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of Women of Concerned Professionals and
Awesome.
Strategic Conscious Network. And we're here in Harlem, New York.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so we are an international group where our primary focus is addressing gender equity and equality. I joined as an ambassador a year ago of Island Innovation just to get a feel, and now we're ready to roll your platform with our platform. Or for a monthly perspective, we have as many as 100 people monthly coming to our convene globally. When we had our national conference, it was virtual. We had 3,075 people registered. So we have the numbers and we have the population. And I think it's really critical that we combine nonprofit organizations to do the work. I have access, you have access to the people that are on the ground to do the work. Our model is one community at a time. So we're like you. We're on the ground. And so we see where there's the disparities of gender equity, disparities based on economic growth and design, and how some places it is purposefully constructed that way. How do we deconstruct it and how do we move into spaces of creating those spaces of equity? And surprising enough, people fail to realize, I live on an island. I live on Manhattan, the island of Manhattan.
Yeah, Manhattan is an island. I remember I used to live outside. So yeah, so it's interesting that we have many concerns in common. And I think that's one of the great things about Island Innovation and us as ambassadors. We seek to see ways that we can collaborate and ways that we can focus on the issues we have in common. And an issue is always that of equity, and how can we make our experiences more equitable, and how can we make our experiences more relevant, and how can we all benefit from the experiences that we can share. So I really do appreciate everyone's presence here that has contributed today. I know some people do say we have to leave. I'm going to be wrapping up shortly. I just want to really express my participation, my appreciation for everyone who could participate. I really do appreciate. I know that the time differences can be tricky, and we try as far as possible to change and to have different time zones included. And anybody who, if you've not gotten a chance to reach out to me, I have my office hours 2 hours a week on Thursdays. One is more suited to the Pacific region and one's more suited to the Americas. I try to make myself available outside of that if necessary. So please get in touch. People do have to leave right now. So it was great to have you all here. I always love interacting with all of the ambassadors. Please keep in touch on the Slack channel. You can keep in touch via WhatsApp as well. And we delved a little bit into COP27 and the Islands Pavilion. And in the next ambassador update, I'll put some more details on there. And I did not have a presentation. Thanks, Loretta, for your information there. I did not have a presentation today. Today, I wanted to focus on chatting with you all. But what I will post on the ambassador resource page, I will post some notes that I will make of this session, and the recording will also be available. Okay, so thanks so much, everybody. It was so great to see you all. Have a fantastic day to everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and keep in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, everybody. Bye.